either one of these any good?
Wow, this is a good movie.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, the director from yesterday doesn't think so.
It stinks.
You sorry? You waste our film.
It's so bad. Welcome back to the Screening Room Podcast. She is Hope Med.
He's George Wolf.
And one of these weeks, we promise we're going to stop monkeying around, but this is not the week. This is the wrong week for that. Welcome. This is the Screening Room Podcast. Hey, now sponsored by Gateway Film Center, Central Ohio's mission-driven, non-profit home for film, and our pretty much home away from home.
That's
Glad
right.
to have Gateway Film Center as a sponsor of the podcast. Thank you very much. So, of course, we'll start with the big one in theaters this week. Many years after the reign of Caesar, a young ape goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. This is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
To survive, remember your strength, your compassion, your mercy. Why do they hunt her? She knows the human secrets.
I have a name. May. I know where they're taking your clan.
You choose a human over an ape.
This was a human place. It is not yours.
It is now, isn't it? The elders did not tell us everything about this world. Nor bend for your king. Never.
It's been 7 years since the last of the previous trilogy.
That's crazy.
And I think I might have almost forgotten how good those three movies are.
They really were.
Yeah.
I've seen a few people this week say that they were binging
Yeah.
those to get ready
Yeah.
for this one. And yeah, you forget, they were really good.
They really were.
In fact, the last one, I went back and reread my review of War for the Planet of the Apes. I was reminded how good that was. That was a full-on war movie.
It was, yeah.
And, of course, with Woody Harrelson in
He
that
was
one.
great.
And it was really, really good. Yeah, 7 years now.
Yeah.
And so the last two in that trilogy,
Matt Reeves.
did. Very good. Now the reins have been picked up by director Wes Ball, known mainly, I think, for the Maze Runner trilogy. But and the screenwriter is Josh Friedman. And they go off in a different direction. It ends up being worthy of interest to see where they're going to go from here. Because I imagine they have another trilogy in mind. That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
But, this one is pretty solid, and it picks up after they give you a brief update, I guess, really quickly, an update on what's been going on, and then they settle in to the time frame that they say is several generations after the death of Caesar. Of course, the main ape from the first trilogy, played in motion capture by Andy Serkis, who led the ape revolution. Now, several generations after Caesar's death, and we were introduced to a young ape named Noah, played by Owen Teague, and he's part of a peaceful clan, you'd say. They have this bonding ritual that they do where they bond with eagles, which is pretty cool.
It is.
And then they're very careful about the balance of nature, and they're, we sympathize, we empathize, we like them early on.
Yeah.
And then their existence is shattered by some warrior apes. They call them the ones in masks. They come and they are warriors from King Proximus, another clan, and he has pretty much proclaimed himself the new Caesar.
Yes.
And it's pointed out early on, a big message in this movie, that he uses Caesar's name but twists his words. So that's a major theme here. And Proximus is after one specific human, a woman named May, played by Freya Allen. And not only can she speak, we see that in the trailer, so that's really not a spoiler. She also may hold some secrets to further evolution that Proximus wants. At least that's what he thinks.
Right. And I think that it is a little bit long. This movie is a little bit long and probably could have trimmed. But, where they invest that extra time is in the world building, which I appreciated. It is a gorgeous movie.
It is.
You expect a lot from the motion capture because of the previous three installments, which were top notch, right? But But all of it, just the landscapes and the lush forest, it is a gorgeous movie to watch.
It really is. And as the last one was, as we said, a full-on war movie, this one goes back to I guess you'd call it a journey of adventure that really the original 1968 film was, because this woman, May, she finds friends and protectors in not just Noah, the young ape, but also an older, wise orangutan named Raka, played by Peter Macon. So then, once those three are together, it becomes a search and evade. They're trying to stay away from the warriors while they are trying to reunite with their prospective peoples. And there are some really thrilling action sequences. There really are. And you mentioned the world building. It does look great. You could go from the real close-up faces of the motion capture that are amazing, right to the very close-ups on eyeballs a couple of times, to the big landscapes as they're swinging through the jungle and trying to get away from some of these armies, and it just you can feel the depth and the layers of it. It does. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does. It's amazing.
Many of the set pieces, even though I agree with you, it's a little bit overlong because it's almost a full 2.5 hours. It's frequently thrilling and satisfying as it leads toward the eventual meeting of these three and Proximus and what he wants from the young woman and how it might lead into and tie into where this franchise is headed next.
But also, the action sequences are, especially there's one with water. Actually, there are more than one with water, but there's one toward the end with water that is just remarkable to watch. Really edge of your seat kind of filmmaking.
Yeah, it's really well put together. We also get a sort of a extended cameo from William H. Macy.
Always welcome.
He's a human that has lived with the Proximus clan of apes for a while. So but the main theme, I don't think it's thematically, I guess, as deep as the past trilogy. But it's got some moral obligations, I guess you'd say, that it wants to pass on. But it sets up the theme early on when they talk about Proximus using Caesar's words, but twisting them. Those characters are talking about Caesar, but I think the filmmakers are aiming higher than that.
Yeah, there's no question about it that they're talking about repurposing a god to get your own power, even though what you're saying is really the opposite of what that God figure ever said, and it's pretty salient right now.
Yeah, and Proximus is played by Kevin Durand. You may not know his name, but you know his face. He's
not that you'll see it here.
No, you won't. But so they're not only great voices, but there are very good motion capture performances. Although, it must be said, nothing on the order of Andy Serkis, because not only was Caesar such a great character, but, if there's a better motion capture actor than Andy Serkis, I don't know if we've seen them.
No, I think you're right. And you do feel that, I think. You miss... It's weird to say it, but the charisma, right, that he somehow managed to bleed through the motion capture.
Yeah.
Right from the very first film, your heart broke for Caesar, and you thought, I will follow him to battle. And that is a little bit missing in this one.
It is. But still, this continues a very solid series of additions to the franchise. And I think it also, by the end, sets up a pretty interesting, it's not a cliffhanger, but a pretty interesting direction to where we're going next.
For sure. Yeah.
There is not a stinger at the end, so you don't have to really hang around for that. There's a funny little noise, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really give anything new about where they're headed next. But I think you can probably guess, and I'm interested.
Yeah, I am too.
This is good enough to keep you interested, and some really fine, thrilling set pieces and thrilling moments in this latest Apes movie. It's called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, in the theaters now. Oh my! Next up on the big screen is a comedy? ? This is Taylor Ferry, Pherry, is commanded by God to write a movie inspired by his crazy, dysfunctional family, but the devil has his own devious plans in this spoof comedy called Not Another Church Movie.
God told me I'm supposed to empower all the women of the world.
God wants you to be pimping?
Huh?
I have an idea, and I'm gonna need you to commit to it.
I'll do anything for you guys.
I need you to become a writer.
I don't know nothing about writing.
Do you know what a plot point is?
No.
A good storyline?
Hell no, I never heard that.
She deserves to get half.
You came back to cry?
No. Judge said half. Your ass is gonna get half.
The dude goes to jail.
Ooh, that's a good idea for a sequel. Damn, chill. What the?
It's like life. The devil's in the details.
Today was a God's day. Woo!
Hoo boy, for the people last week that were calling Unfrosted one of the worst movies of the year, here's
Citizen Kane. It is Citizen Kane. You know, and it's such a funny thing because, you know, spoof movies are hard to do.
They are.
But I thought, you know, when I saw the title, not another church movie, I thought, okay, because, you know, in the last 10 years, faith-based films have really become a massive part of filmmaking and of the cinematic landscape, and I thought, okay, well, it's prime for it. You know?
Because when you're getting spoofed, what does that mean? You're successful.
Exactly.
You're successful enough to be spoofed. So, and let's be honest, Tyler Perry movies are successful as well, and that's why he's being spoofed here. But he really has, as you pointed out, Tyler Perry has sort of two different arms going on. He's got the Medea silly comedies, but then he also does the dramas.
Yes, but here's the thing. He doesn't necessarily make church movies. I mean, it pops up here and there, but the title is incredibly misleading because it's not, it is exclusively, although there is a Set It Off reference. Other than that, it is exclusively a Tyler Perry spoof movie. And it's weirdly specific and niche-y, but also, as you said, Tyler Perry makes a lot of dramas, very serious dramas, and he also makes Medea movies, which themselves are sort of spoofy. And the thing is, there's not any good way to combine those two types of films. I can tell you for sure because I watched this attempt to do that. And it's also, you know, the plot synopsis that you read off IMDb, that is at least a legitimate plot. It doesn't really bear any resemblance to this movie because so Jamie Foxx plays God and Mickey Rourke plays Satan. They're not actually in the movie, you know. I think they filmed each of them separately in their offices for an afternoon, and then they just keep superimposing them badly.
You can just watch the trailer and see how badly the production values are on some of this.
I don't know how to explain. It's such a train wreck. And I'm sorry to say that, because, you know, you hate to just completely trash somebody's work like this, but it's just a train wreck.
And you're right. Spoofs are hard to do successfully, so that any type of draw doesn't wear off quickly. You know, it's like a parody song. Lots of times they're pretty short because you're like, oh, ha, 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 that's funny. Now let's get it over with, and move on to the next one. So these are hard to sustain. For this is even just barely an hour and a half, but
it felt it.
Yeah, not funny. Not funny at all, and that is on the big screen starting this weekend, called Not Another Church Movie. A mystery thriller next on the big screen. 5 women participate in a hiking retreat, but only 4 come out the other side. Federal agents Aaron Falk and Carmen Cooper head into the mountains hoping to find their informant still alive. It's called Force of Nature, The Dry Tube.
Whatever they're all telling you happened out there, Alice was a part of it. We all were.
She's in danger out there.
Tell me what is going on. Why is this so different?
Because I know what it's like out there. I know what happens when things turn bad.
Alice was up to something.
You there?
Who are you talking to? There's someone there.
You remember Kovac?
The serial killer?
All of his murders were in this region.
Your mind starts to play tricks on you out there.
Just tell them the truth.
Out there, nature holds us all to account.
So in case you missed it, and we did, there was The Dry a few years ago, and it's the same director and co-writer and star. Robert Connolly's the co-writer and director. Eric Bana is back as the agent Aaron Falk, and it's from a source novel, as this one is, and it's called The Dry too. It's very interesting because if all you gotta do is watch the trailer. There's nothing dry about this movie.
No, it's
very
ironic.
Wet. It's very wet. But the first one was centered around a drought, so that was called The Dry, and this is a sequel, so The Dry 2. But it's also called Force of Nature. But let's move on. It's actually a pretty decent movie. It's put together by really solid parts that are just hard to gel once they all get assembled because there's so much going on here. It's in Australia, and these 5 women, like the synopsis said there, they're off on this retreat, this team-building retreat, and things go awry, and then only 4 come out. And so the basic hook is, okay, what really happened in there? You've got different stories and who's mad at who and who was double-crossing whom. And so that's interesting. But then the story starts flashback and time shifting, and you find out all these other things that the woman who's missing was actually working for Eric Bana and his team as a corporate whistleblower about some malfeasance that was going on in her company. And so maybe her company knew about that and wanted to put a stop to it by doing away with her in the mountains. Maybe not. Then we also find out that the mountains where they are, that very spot, just happens to be the same spot where a notorious serial killer killed all his victims years ago. And then let's also throw in that this very same spot is also where a very traumatic event occurred when the agent Falk, Eric Bana, was a little boy. So he's haunted by this at the same time as investigating it. So there's a lot going on. A lot of threads. They're all done pretty well. I mean, the acting is good. You've not only got Eric Bana, but you've got a great ensemble cast. Robin McLeavy, who we love from The Loved Ones.
If you've not seen it, it is maybe the best Australian horror movie ever made.
It's really good. You've also Richard Roxburgh. You might know him from Moulin Rouge. Deborah Lee Furness, who for a long time was married to Hugh Jackman. All these Australian favorites are in this movie.
Right.
And so the acting is good. It looks fantastic when we're out in this forest, sort of like we were just talking about with Planet of the Apes,
right.
Although this is not, CGI'd. Man, the forest, you can tell the depth of it when they're up high above or deep within. You really get a sense of it. It looks great, and everything is crafted well, but trying to get all of these different threads to fit together just seems to thwart the tension. The most gripping thread, I think, is when you're finding out what happened to these women. And then every time that starts to ramp up, it just gets undercut to something else about maybe this serial killer in the years past, or this thing that happened to Agent Falk when he was young. So it just seems to work against itself too often. But it's still solid. It's just not great. I mean, if you like these type of mystery thrillers, it's a full 2 hours. Drags a little bit, but it's also one that looks great on the big screen. But this is a day and date as well, so you can find it on VOD starting this weekend. But if you're into these thrillers, these mystery thrillers, it's well crafted. It just sort of doesn't get as compelling throughout the entire 2 hours as it could have if they would streamline it a little bit, taken out, I'd say, the serial killer thread, take that out, make it a little more streamlined, a little more lean and mean. Could have been a little bit more effective. But and of course, if you've maybe seen The Dry 1, which we did not,
right,
you could check it out. And it's in theaters and on VOD now, called Force of Nature, The Dry 2. Got another one for a day and date in theaters and on VOD this weekend. Crime thriller. While stranded at a rural Arizona rest stop, a traveling salesman is thrust into a dire hostage situation by the arrival of 2 bank robbers with no qualms about using cruelty or cold, hard steel to protect their blood-stained fortune. It's called The Last Stop in Yuma County.
Did you hear about the bank robbery this morning?
Hell are they doing over there?
It's the car.
Hang up. Pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you.
I had a rich old uncle. Hey, Charlotte.
You're gonna go about your day just like any other day.
Hey, darling. He said that when he left, all his money would be mine. What happened to your phone cord?
If you try anything stupid, I'll shoot you in the face.
Jesus Christ, does everybody have a gun?
Just like Bonnie and Clyde.
I want some of that money. I'm not the bad guy, okay?
What's the plan now?
What?
You may not always like it, but it just turns out that way.
Well, right away, this one grabbed our attention. It's got two of our favorite faces, even if you don't know their names. Richard Brake and Jim Cummings are in this one.
And
Good
they're
stuff.
both great.
Yes.
They're both great in it. They're both very much Richard Brake and Jim Cummings in it, actually. And it's a great, example of filmmaking. It is a one-location film. Every single thing that happens inside and outside of a diner. The last gas station for 200 miles, and the fuel truck is late. So nobody's getting any gas, so they all just keep heading over to the diner to wait for the truck to come in. And it's a great setup, especially because very early you find out that two of the first guys waiting for that gas truck did rob a bank. So, and the Jim Cummings character, the salesman, he susses it out pretty quickly because he recognizes the car from a news bulletin. And so he tells the waitress, and then pretty soon Richard Brake figures out that they know, and then he just says, this is what's going to happen. You're just going to shut up. We're all going to sit here. Nobody's going to do anything stupid, and then we're going to get gas and all drive away. And then one after another, these customers come in because they also need gas, and it boils up. It gets, and one of the great things is that you know where it's going, and it delivers on that promise in a very fun and exciting way. But then it takes you places you had no idea it was going to go, and that's what I think I really appreciated about it.
Well, it's the first feature film for writer-director Francis Galuppi, and what's cool is next. He's doing the next Evil Dead movie.
That's right. And I remember actually being very excited when I saw this movie come up for us to review, because I thought to myself, where do I know that name? I know where I know that name because we are very excited about the next. And so, I thought to myself, I wonder what this nobody did to get Sam Raimi excited to let him do the next movie. And now I know.
Yeah. And if you are just getting introduced to Jim Cummings with this movie, look up his other work too, because he's got a movie called Thunder Road.
So great.
And then he pretty much remade Thunder Road as a horror movie called The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Yes,
which
great.
we love as well. So here he's just in the cast, but he plays this one particular type of character so well,
better than anybody.
And it's a lot of fun. So Blood, I think you called it Blood, Fun, and Surprises.
That sounds right.
Which is always great because seriously, we say many times, if you can take us somewhere that we don't see coming.
Yep.
Oh, extra points for that. That's even more fun. So The Last Stop in Yuma County is recommended. It's in theaters and also on VOD right now.
I've noticed a trend with really long movie titles this week, George. Can we go anywhere with that?
We can. This is the first of two long ones. Are you ready? This is a mosaic-style comedy following the life of a woman as time passes in her long-term casual BDSM relationship, low-level corporate job, and quarrelsome Jewish family. This is called The Feeling That the Time for Doing Something Has Passed.
I need to show you this wonderful pink lamp that I found on the street.
Oh, a salt lamp. It's like a thing for lonely people.
You're the only one that messaged me.
Where do you like hanging out?
Here.
I think people can like more than one type of relationship.
Am I in the right ballpark?
You said everyone would have a fun time.
And this is a fun time.
I feel like I would like to find someone to be with.
This is very troubling.
I worry about being alone.
Oh. Sorry.
This one's nutty.
Nutty. Once again, The Feeling That the Time for Doing Something Has Passed. That's the title. But it's a good one.
Joanna Arno wrote, directed, and stars in this film, and it's a film about Millennial Malaise. It's a dry, bone-dry comedy and kind of a slice of life. We're just following this woman through her sort of, lackluster, non-passionate, not too exciting life. And that's, I think, it's an interesting because it's sort of spot on, but it's told in a way that's kind of absurd. It's really hard to describe this movie. And if you're in it for like 10 or 15 minutes and don't think it's at all funny, I think you should abandon it because it's not going to change its tone or pace ever. So it's almost like, for me, if you took Napoleon Dynamite and then just like drained it so it was bone dry. That's a little bit like what you get out of this movie.
And it's worth noting that the executive producer here is Sean Baker, who did Tangerine and The Florida Project. That's a name that right away, I think by now, if you've seen his films, you get interested.
Oh, yeah. And with good reason. Her voice is unlike anybody else's in film right now. And so that alone is reason to celebrate, to have like a genuinely new perspective in film. And it's startling and at the same time lifeless. Like that, like the tone that she manages in this movie is, again, it's just not like anything else.
And it's committed to that tone.
Oh, it is.
I mean, it's one of those where, much like Napoleon Dynamite, if in the first few minutes you're thinking it's going to, maybe it's going to, nope, this is it.
Oh, yeah, this is exactly it. And it is, it's challenging at points, too. But one of the things, as you mentioned in the synopsis, is that she's into BDSM. And one of the things that's the most fascinating about this movie is how she just turns that into just banality. That's how much this drains excitement from everything. And that alone is hilarious.
And this is in theaters starting this weekend by an interesting new voice, writer and director Joanna Arno. Once again, it's the feeling that the time for doing something has passed. New comedy that we recommend. Got a horror film next on VOD. An aspiring yoga influencer embarks on a ritual practice left behind by her estranged grandmother. This is called Mind, Body, Spirit.
My grandmother gave me this house. She passed away about a year ago. Hello? I never realized how much of her was still here. For my Anya. I don't know how far I'll have to go to start living my truth, but discovery is all about taking risks.
Your grandmother, she wasn't the woman you think she was.
Are you sure? You're okay? I feel fantastic. This is real. This is truth. This is my heritage, and I am living it.
Here's another single location shoot, and they make the most of it. Everything is shot inside the house that Anya has inherited from the grandmother she never knew. And it's a gorgeous house, and she's a little bit lonely out there. She's on the other side of the country, so every once in a while she'll FaceTime with her mother, who's a little domineering and really did not like Grandma at all. And then, again, every once in a while, another yoga influencer who she knew from childhood will pop in, and they'll do a video together. The yoga influencer, she's much more high energy. She's much more sales oriented, and she doesn't think much really of Anya's skills. And Anya is really just trying to find herself. She's a lot more low key. And one of the things this movie does really well is to use common terminology from sort of influencer culture and turn it into something that could be also creepy. Like really toe the line, especially yoga culture and how some of the things, about opening yourself up. I mean, it does a good job with that. It's also, it betrays its budget in a number of ways. It's essentially found footage, but periodically it cuts away from the video you're watching to show you like an ad that you would see if you had left on a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense because none of these videos had ever gotten uploaded. Do you know what I mean? There's no real integrity to the found footage of it.
Okay, yeah.
But still, it does a great job of building some tension, mainly because Sarah J. Bartholomew, who plays Anya, does a great job. She's very tender and earnest. and you do get sort of caught up in what she's doing, and they take it in interesting places. But when they also get to the actual horror, like the gags, the blood gags, they're just not done well. The knife never actually gets anywhere close to where in the movie you're supposed to believe it hits. Things like that they just take you back out of it. And again, I think it just betrays the level of budget that was involved. And for the most part, it is impressive given the budget, but there are times where it really shows itself. But on the whole, especially for a streamer, and if you like horror films, it's worth watching.
Yeah, and it's a quick one. It's less than 90 minutes. So one to check out, streaming now, called Mind, Body, Spirit.
I don't know. That was a really short title, George. What else you got?
That one was too short for you? How about this one? In select theaters now and also streaming, a comedy. An overworked and underpaid production assistant drives around Bucharest to shoot the casting for a workplace safety video commissioned by a multinational company. This is called Do Not Expect Too Much from the End of the World. So yes, Bucharest. This is Romanian. And this was reviewed at madwolf.com by Matt Weiner because basically he threatened us to. This has been on, and I'll give him credit because I didn't know about this movie, and this was on his radar for a while now, and he wanted to review it, and it's good because he loved it, gave it 4.5 stars out of 5, called it a near masterpiece, and he wrote a great review of it. So check it out at madwolf.com. But loved it, loved it, loved it. Now this is in select theaters. Might have to search to find this, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and it is also a little bit lengthy. But one of the great things about it is that, so it's nearly 3 hours long, but it is so incredibly well made. It's so funny. It's so startling. It's just such amazing filmmaking. And then the last 20 or so minutes is the culmination of this woman's interviews to find the source that will be part of this video that this conglomerate is going to make. So the end of the film is that video, and it's brilliant. It's just genius. So really, do yourself the favor of watching this movie.
Yeah, if you can find it on the big screen, of course, we always say that is preferable, but it is streaming right now as well, and it's from writer-director Radu Jude. Again, a Romanian film, and you check out Matt Weiner's review at madwolf.com. But the movie is great. Do not expect too much from the end of the world. Another one on VOD. This is a thriller and marks the return of Ashley Judd. Haven't seen her in a while. Lee protects her orphan nieces from a self-destructing world, raising them in isolation until an outsider threatens their peaceful existence. It's called Lazarus.
You lied. I said I'd keep you safe.
There's a boy staying in that cabin with you.
You knew that! Admit it! You did something so heinous that now they're after you.
I did what I had to do to survive.
We know you're here, Owen.
They're not gonna stop until they find me.
You think you can hide from me? You can't.
You can't just leave family.
Remember the plan. Now you know what Lazarus can do.
Rachel Willis reviewed this one for us at madwolf.com, and it's an interesting idea. So it comes at night, plus maybe Beguiled. Right?
Yeah, Beguiled was one that came to mind because there's all these women, and then a young male comes into the picture, and how's that going to change things?
Right. So it's a post-apocalypse, though. Ashley Judd's character has been protecting her nieces. She'll drive to town, and then when she comes home, she tells them how bad it is in town. And so the nieces really only know each other and this safe homestead that their aunt has created for them. But then there's immediate questions like, why does the car still run? Like, where is she getting gas? Things like that. And the problem really with the movie is that it doesn't know where to take what it's going. It's got some good performances, but the movie as a whole just sort of lies there. So, yeah, Rachel was a little disappointed in this one.
Yeah, and her review is up now at madwolf.com. This one is on VOD now, and it is called Lazarus. And one more on VOD, some sci-fi silliness. An unusual piece of foil with potential alien origin causes a rift between two former best friends camping in the California desert. It's called foil.
This is from a crash site.
Yeah, the UFO crash site. It's a piece of foil.
You know what? You're right. Nothing special. Oh, look at that.
The foil doesn't prove anything. This could change our lives, man.
You are meant to be here. There's something very special inside you.
Thanks, man. That means a lot.
No, literally. There's something inside you.
What?
You'll never get out of here, no matter how hard you try. It's all scrambled.
Maybe you could just tell me what's going on.
Every once in a while, somebody comes along with a piece of foil inside of them.
This foil is holding you back.
Then Tom goes to work on it.
We gotta kill Tom before he kills all of us, right?
I'm not gonna shoot my roommate.
We can't shoot him. We can shoot him.
Some pretty cool stuff going on here, man.
Christy Robb reviewed this one for us. And like the last one, it was a great setup, but a disappointing ending. And part of it is because it didn't feel like it figured out where it wanted to go. It was a sort of a comedy, a little bit of an absurd comedy. Then it was an X-Files episode. And then it was, it was fraught. Then it was funny. But it could not land on a tone. And that really kept it from gelling.
Yeah, and Christy thought it just was maybe a little too silly for its own good. But that is on VOD now, called Foil. And you can find Christy's review at madwolf.com. All right, well, he took last week off, but he's back. Let's check in with Daniel in the lobby.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Checking back in the lobby with Daniel Baldwin, a.k.a. the Schlocketeer, back to give us the lowdown on the studio news and notes. So what's shaking?
Well, first off, there's a lot that people will be able to watch at home this weekend. Abigail, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare are all available on VOD now. And The Book of Clarence hits Netflix tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
And then for next week, Sasquatch Sunset hits VOD on May 14th.
Fun.
And moving into summer, the South Korean horror hit Eczema is finally hitting VOD on June 4th. And then IFC will give a limited theatrical release to Handling the Undead on June 7th. That's a Norwegian zombie thriller based on the novel of the same name by the author of Let the Right One In and Border.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Might be one to look out for.
Hello.
Two of our favorites.
Yep. And then breakout Swedish heavy metal sensation Ghost will release their first concert film right here, right now. That's RITE, like Satanic Rites of Dracula, right? That'll be in theaters for a special two-night event on June 20th and 22nd. So if you're a fan, keep an eye on your local listings.
Mm-hmm.
And then Netflix has set a June 21st premiere for their action thriller Trigger Warning, which stars Jessica Alba and Anthony Michael Hall. It's from the screenwriter of A History of Violence.
Screenwriter of what?
A History of Violence.
Oh,
wow.
Okay. Wow, all right.
And The Boy and the Heron is finally hitting VOD on June 25th.
Yeah.
Kind of been a long journey for that one.
It has.
And then moving towards the end of summer, Sony has set an August 30th theatrical release for Blumhouse's horror film They Listen.
Okay.
And Paramount will premiere their horror film Apartment 7A on Paramount Plus this October, which is a Rosemary's Baby prequel from Relic director Natalie Erica James.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, we interviewed her back for Nightmares Film Festival. She's great. Okay, looking forward to that then.
And then the theatrical release of Terrifier 3 has been moved up by 2 weeks to October 11th. And finally, we've got two project announcements. First up, writer-director David Toohey and star Vin Diesel will be returning to the world of Richard B. Riddick with Riddick 4 Furia, which begins filming this summer, so it'll come out sometime next year.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, actor-turned-filmmaker Andy Serkis will soon be returning to the world of Middle-earth, both as performer and director, because he is directing the prequel Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, for 2026, and Peter Jackson's back producing.
Okay, I didn't know he was directing it.
I didn't either, yeah. We were just talking about that just before we started taping.
Interesting.
Yeah, because as much as we liked, and we really did like the new
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of
yeah.
the Apes, you know, it's
You miss him.
You miss him. You do. You miss. Nobody did caption,
Motion
caption acting like him.
Looks like he'll be back at it again soon.
Yeah, looks that way. Okay, you can always catch up with Daniel on the socials at The Schlocketeer for all the latest news. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Looking ahead to next week, we've got one. I don't know what to think about this. We'll see, I guess, when we see it. A new one from Ryan Reynolds called If.
I'm excited for this one. I saw the TV Glow.
Oh, yeah, that's next week. Also, the Amy Winehouse biopic, Back to Black.
The Strangers, Chapter 1.
Also, Wildcat about Flannery O'Connor.
That's right. Babes.
Adam the First.
Night Watch, Demons Never Die.
And Faceless After Dark. That's all next week. But this week, what do you think? We've got Apes, we've got long titles. And some unique movies, to put it mildly. So what do you think? We always love to talk about it, keep the conversation rolling. You can find us easily on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. It's Mad Wolf Columbus. Also, the main website is madwolf.com, so plenty of ways to keep in touch. And also at madwolf.com, you can check out our horror movie only podcast, getting ready to record a new one tonight.
That's right.
So there'll be a new one all about Nicolas Cage horror coming very, very soon. That's Fright Club. You can find that at madwolf.com as well. So keep in touch if you can. Be well. And until next week, she is Hope Med.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Screening Room Podcast, now sponsored by Gateway Film Center.
See ya.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap.